You know, this is one of those topics that no one really wants to think about, but if you're a parent, a homeowner, married, or helping take care of aging parents, it's something that honestly deserves a little attention. I'm talking about estate planning. And before you tune out thinking it's complicated or expensive, that's actually why I want to mention Trust and Will. Trust and Will makes estate planning feel way less intimidating than it sounds. They offer modern, attorney-designed wills and trusts that you can create online. And the process is surprisingly straightforward. In fact, you can create a will in as little as 30 minutes. That includes things like guardianship for your kids or pets, how your assets are distributed, and even healthcare directives. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones with Trust and Will, the most trusted name in online estate planning. Go to trustandwill.com/future to get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/future for 20% off. trustandwill.com/FUTURE.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day or Leprechaun in Mobile, Alabama Day for those who celebrate. My favorite video of all time on the internet. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much. I am celebrating, I guess, St. Patrick's Day. I wish it all to a happy one to everybody who celebrates.
I would say you're not, because there's no green on you whatsoever, which is an embarrassment to the holiday.
Are you somebody that's annoying that pinches at people for real? That like when you don't wear green, you get pinched?
I am a grown adult, and I don't think that we should be pinching other grown adults personally.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents.
I don't actually, it's not anti, because you accused me of being anti-celebratory in that I purposely avoided wearing.
You don't like fun.
Well, I don't have anything green, though, either.
There's no way that's true.
I mean, I have green hood. This morning when I went to go out and go on the outside workout, I did wear a green hoodie because I have a green hoodie, but that is quite literally the only green article of clothing I have.
Well, we can't have
Green's not one of my colors.
We can't have another Rocky incident.
What is that?
With you wearing a hoodie on the air. Remember?
Oh,
the Rocky
yeah.
thing?
No. You're not allowed to do that. No.
Our producer Justin today, head
standards.
to toe in a full leprechaun outfit today, which you love the vibes.
Yeah, do you have
there.
the hat? Do we have the shot of the room?
I didn't see the hat today.
I know we have a shot. No, okay. Sorry, JB. I don't want to put that on you. So, okay. Yes, he is fully. Maybe at some point during the show, he can come out and stand at the desk.
At the very least, get a picture that we can show everybody. I'll tell you what, though. Hopefully, it'll provide some green for us with all of our bets. I know Jaylen Waddle specifically feeling lucky, getting out of the sinking ship that is the Miami Dolphins, and now going out to the Denver Broncos. Quite a glow up for him today.
Is it?
You don't think so?
I mean, who's throwing him the football? I don't want to be, me.
I would say Bo Nix is better than whatever situation is going on in Miami.
Is Bo Nix better than Malik Willis?
I would think so. I would hope so.
You think so?
I don't know if we have enough of a sample size of Malik Willis to know what he is.
I think I have enough of a sample size of Bo Nix to know what he is at this point right now. Look, I am being somewhat annoying about this. I think, as our audience probably knows, I have had my reservations about Nix. And
I thought you were just going to say that you were annoying about most things.
No, I mean, I am. But look, he was fine last year. If you include the divisional round, we're talking about a guy who threw for 4,200 yards, 6.4 yards per attempt, fewer touchdowns than he did a season ago, more turnover-worthy plays than a season ago. I don't know if that is the best quarterback that we're talking about here from an offensive standpoint. We've seen him really struggle at times. But to your overall point, if you're Waddle, you have to feel somewhat happy. Mm-hmm. You're going from a team that is completely rebuilding to a team that at least fancies itself a playoff-type team. Yep. We'll see if that's the case. And look, I think it's fair to question the Broncos, though, not only the Bo Nix play and whether or not he is going to be an adequate quarterback as he moves forward in his career. We saw the Denver Broncos defense take a massive step back as the season went along. What if that regression is legitimate and they're going to be a team that maybe falls really far back down to the pack? So I think in a complete sense, yes, it is an upgrade for Waddle, but I have my questions as to what Denver will be as a team this next year.
We'll dive deeper into that coming up in just a little bit. Lots to get to over the course of the show. So let's set the table like we always do. Let's hit the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
Excited, as usual, on a Tuesday to have our mid-major maestro, Adam Burke, join us here in studio in about 30 minutes. Get his thoughts, of course, on the early round NCAA tournament talk. He knows all about all of those lower-level programs that we are wondering what to do with some of these seedings, and even a little NIT discussion today as he's got some bets.
Yeah, we were chopping it up about a little NIT. UNLV obviously in action later today against UC Irvine. Maybe some inside information on the Running Rebels roster that we were discussing. But either way, there's still a lot of games to be played today. And, of course, the first four looks like it's going to be fun.
Yep.
Maybe not so much Howard and UMBC, but NC State, Texas. And I think the winner of this game will be playing this weekend as well, so we can talk about that.
I'm actually low-key very excited for UMBC, Howard, so we'll talk about that
You're the Retrievers, right? You're a big Retrievers.
Yeah, let's go.
Why?
We'll get to that just because I think their social media presence is awesome.
Okay,
And I actually like them to win the game today, but we'll get onto that in just a little bit. I teased it yesterday. We will hit on a bunch of different NCAA tournament trends today as well. Are they meaningful? Are they meaningless? Things that you might not know that maybe should going into the tournament. Not all are created equal, as usual, but I think I've compiled a pretty good list for today.
Do they matter?
Some do.
It's a good list of trends, but do they matter is the real question. I guess we'll find out.
Do. We'll also, as usual, hit on some NBA. We've got an 8-game card in the association, 9 games coming up in the NHL, so we'll dive into both of those. But as you said, the first 4 getting underway today, so that is where we will start. A little first 4 frenzy out there in Dayton, Ohio, UMBC and Howard, NC State, and Texas going head-to-head. JVT, at least one first 4 participant has advanced to the second round in 12 of the 14 tournaments since we've had it. 5 of them having reached the Sweet 16, including a pair of Final Four teams. So, anybody in this bunch today or tomorrow that you think could be maybe like a spicy pick to make a little bit of a run?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think you're looking at the winner of NC State, Texas.
Okay.
Obviously, when you look at where it falls within the bracket, being a matchup being a team that obviously might be a little underseeded, that would be NC State. You do get to, if you are the winner of Texas and NC State, go on then to face BYU in the West. BYU is obviously a very vulnerable team. We saw them fall apart down the stretch. They're obviously a little bit injured as well, with the key player out that was gone about a month ago or so. But that's of the teams that is waiting for an opponent seems to be the most vulnerable. So I don't think it would be shocking if NC State were to play today and win, and then all of a sudden be able to beat BYU as a Wolfpack team that Tim and I discussed it. I think you and I discussed it, and many others thought that's somewhat surprising that NC State is seated this low in terms of playing in Dayton and having to play their way into the NCAA tournament. So I do think that the winner here, both of these teams have upside on offense. They could go on and beat a BYU team that has been floundering on defense.
What's the level of concern with the way that both of these teams ended their regular seasons and into the tournament? Because that's a big part of what ended up putting them in this position to begin with. Texas falling in 5 of their last 6, NC State dropping 7 of their last 9 entering today. And this doesn't quite feel like the NC State tournament from a couple years ago that was playing their best in the ACC tournament and then went on a run in the dance.
Yeah, I think you're really concerned for NC State, but both teams really, but their defense was awful when you looked at the way that they ended the season. You mentioned the losing streak, but if you just look at the efficiency numbers for their defense when they were losing some of these games, these are the offensive ratings of their opponents in these losses. 146, 118, 128, 134, 144, 123, and then 118 against Virginia. This is a defense that was just getting cooked in every sense of the word. And the other is they could not keep opponents off the offensive glass. 5 of their opponents rebounded over 40% of their missed shot attempts. NC State did not play well defensively. They were giving up second chance opportunities. You do have to be worried if you're talking about where they are in that realm. And for Texas, they were actually pretty similar if you looked at it, at least in terms of the way that they failed. Their defense was abysmal down the stretch too, but some of the numbers for NC State were eye-opening for how bad they were defensively at times.
So with that, 2 teams that we know are capable shooting teams, 2 teams that struggle defensively. What am I missing that this total is moving down as much as it has? Opened 162.5, and I bet over 157.5 this morning here at Circa. I'm seeing 157 right now. When these two played earlier this season in the Maui Invitational, and we heard Keith Gill after the selection show talk about how they really don't like having rematches if they can avoid it, but this was the necessary matchup ultimately for this spot. Combined for 199 points in that earlier season meeting. What am I missing here?
I don't know. I mean, that in that game, too, to your point, that had 72 possessions in it, that game out there in Maui. So it was a little bit quicker. It was played at NC State's tempo, a little bit more. They're a top 85-ish team in terms of tempo. If you look at Texas, a little bit slower, floating around in the mid 200s. I would assume there's a couple of things here, but to your overall point, you could get an over as well because, again, you're going to be fouling to death. But in elimination games, especially in basketball, you tend to slow down a little bit more. College basketball games, coaches tend to overcoach a little bit more. So every possession, you're just kind of walking it up, looking to see what's the play, what's the set, what are we going to run, neutral site setting. Now, the Maui was as well, but a little bit of a foreign shooting backdrop, things like that, where it might not be.
I'm not saying we're going to get 200 points.
No,
I just feel like it's a bit of a buy low on the opener.
Sure. Well, you asked why maybe it would be bet down, and I think those are probably the reasons why you might look to bet these games down.
Okay. You were saying that you're not very interested in UMBC Howard. In terms of how evenly matched both of these teams are, I'm pretty intrigued, especially because they are some of these lower level programs that got hot at the end of the year and were playing their best basketball entering now this first 4 game. Depending on where you look across the board, either team is favored. UMBC as much as a 1.5 point favorite, Howard as much as a 1 point favorite, depending on where you look. Total regardless, sitting pretty static at that 142.5. Retrievers back in the big dance for the first time since that 2018 historic win over Virginia in the 16-1 game. But UMBC riding a program record 12-game win streak into tonight's second longest win streak in the country, have not lost a game since January 29th. Howard 14-2, their last 16, and both have been really strong cover teams in this stretch also. Over UMBC's 12-game streak, they've covered in 11, covered in 14 of their last 16. Howard failed to cover in their conference tournament title game against NC Central, but did 7 straight and 10 of 11 prior. I think we've got a really fun, potentially competitive, down to the wire final possession type of a game on our hands.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. The market agrees as well, considering where we're at. So what do you like?
So I ended up playing UMBC in this one, just looking at some of the...
I like Howard.
UMBC, I think, stronger defensively than Howard's seen in their conference largely, and the better shooting team as well. One of Howard's best shooters was looking a little bit off in the tournament, had 9 and 14 points respectively. So if he's not at his best, that's going to be a problem. And I was looking at some of the turnover metrics that initially I thought might be a wash, but now I think can be an advantage for UMBC. Howard is a great team at forcing turnovers. They score a lot of buckets in transition, but UMBC does not give up much at all. They're 25th in turnover rate in the country, top 15 defensive rebound rate as well. So if they can jumble up their rhythm a little bit and be able to get the ball back for themselves, UMBC, even though they're not, great at forcing turnovers, Howard coughs it up a ton. They're like 364th or something thereabouts in terms of turnover rate on their side. Okay. So I feel like when you put it all together, better shooting team, better defense than Howard's used to, and could have an advantage in terms of messing up the rhythm for Howard offensively, how they like to play quick in transition, that maybe that could be an advantage for the Retrievers.
Okay. I like it. Makes a lot of sense.
We shall see if it ends up actually playing out that way. But excited for tonight. Both of these games just to get us started. Of course, it'll carry over into tomorrow. We'll have Lehigh and Prairie View A&M, SMU, Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio, of course, has the wonderful undefeated regular season. They lose that first game in the tournament. They're a big dog in this spot to SMU. Could they maybe get a little bit of an upset? That's something I actually want to present to you a little bit later. But so much more we got to get to here on Money Moves. We are just getting started. Keep it locked here. When we come back, a little recap of what we saw yesterday. Plus, speaking of the tournament, we do finally have an update on one of Alabama's star players who will not be available this weekend.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back here on Money Moves, this segment sponsored by Upside. Download the free Upside app today and earn real cash back every time you fill up your gas tank. Plus, when you use the promo code SPORTS, you'll get 25 cents back per gallon on that first fill up. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here live downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino, to follow up on some of our college basketball talk last segment. In addition to the first 4 beginning today, we also got some other news on a program that I know at least Dave Ross and a couple others here on the network were pretty high on before this news came down. The Alabama Crimson Tide. Head coach Nate Oates says his team is, quote, preparing to play without its second leading scorer, Aiden Holloway, after he was arrested for felony drug charges on Monday. The school released a statement last night that he has been removed from campus pending an Office of Student Conduct investigation, first-degree possession of marijuana. So he will miss, at least it appears, this weekend and then potentially beyond, depending on how this plays out.
Now, preparing to play without him is not the same as is he's officially out, correct?
Correct.
So we don't have official words floating around 11.5. I do wonder if when we get official word, whatever that is, but if he's officially ruled out, where it eventually goes.
And so just real quickly, that is where this number opened. It got bet out in favor of Alabama as far as 14.5, and now has come back to the mean.
Yeah. I mean, I think Alabama was already in a vulnerable position anyways. We had discussed only because Hofstra is one of those teams that you like to look at that fits the archetype of a group that could potentially pull off the upset. So you're already in a little bit of, I think, somewhat hot water. You're also an inconsistent defensive team. So I think that was something that was already working against Alabama. Now you have this. I wouldn't be surprised to see if this number continues to tick down, especially once we get the news that Holloway is officially done. Not only just second leading scorer, but you look at the team overall, actually leads them in individual offensive rating when you're talking about how efficient he is as a player too. So this is going to be something that I would think does hurt a team like Alabama that was already probably playing pretty hard. So, or she up against it with this matchup. I will be curious to see where this number goes, though. I mean, does it get under 10? Does it get under 10 if he's officially ruled out? Because this seems to be some middle ground right now, but we are inching in the direction of this being something that he is not going to be available.
Yeah, that's what it seems like based on all of the reports that we've seen so far. And obviously Big taking out a guy that's averaging nearly 17 points per game in your lineup on a nightly basis. In terms of the futures numbers, Sweet 16, there's still an odds on minus 120 price to make it to that point. Elite 8 plus 750, Final Four 22-1, and that national championship number out to 180-1 now. We mentioned off the top a little bit earlier the deal that came down, the trade from Miami to Denver. Jaylen Waddle ultimately making the move. In terms of compensation, Miami trades Waddle in a 4th-round pick this year to Denver in exchange for a late 1st, 3rd, and 4th in this April's draft as well. So Miami now in the 1st round will have the number 11 and the number 30 overall selections, according to Ian Rappaport. The two sides had been talking about a trade last year, didn't get anything done, but kept in conversations, and now we're here.
Yeah, I think that Miami is very clear on what they're doing, which is obviously rebuilding, and the Broncos feel like they have a window to try to get this done in what is becoming potentially a really crowded AFC West. Let's just not even talk about the AFC. I mean, the Raiders are doing a lot of smart things with the way that they're handling their offseason. You would at least assume they're going to be a little bit more competent when you look at those 2 games that you have to play against Las Vegas. We know what the Chargers are going to be. The Chiefs, we'll see what's the status of Patrick Mahomes. They just got a new quarterback yesterday. We hit on that. It was Justin Fields. So we'll see what they are at the beginning of the year and by the time they face them. So I think this is somewhat of an arms race. And you looked at this group when they got to the postseason. Injuries were part of it, but they got pretty thin at wide receiver when they got into the postseason because of some of the hits that they took, and you need a little bit more. Again, I will question whether or not Nix is going to be the guy. You don't like when your completion percentage dips, when your turnover worthy play rate rises. Those are things that for a young quarterback, if those are heading in the wrong direction. And so you do wonder what the offense looks like. And it was a very run-heavy, don't ask Bo Nix to do much. Sean Payton's a really good offensive play caller. I assume he's going to scheme up Waddle pretty well, but I don't know if I'm running to the window because they go and get Waddle, because I very much question who's throwing him the football.
I guess I would say, to what extent now having the talented wide receiver core do you have that you become a little bit more quarterback proof? If you are like run first, but then you have 2 likely 1,000-yard receivers in Waddle and Courtland Sutton. You have Troy Franklin, who had 700 yards and 6 touchdowns a year ago. Like, do you get to the point where there's just so many weapons around you that it makes life easy on a guy like Bo Nix that he's not going to be relied upon as much?
Ask J.J. McCarthy. I mean, seriously, right? McCarthy was a, hey, even if he's not going to be good his first year as a starter, you've got so many weapons and a good play caller that this should work. He was putting up historically awful numbers. And it's not going to be that bad for Bo Nix. My whole point is, I don't know if there is an ability in the NFL to make an offense quarterback proof.
I'm by no means high on Bo Nix, but I think of him as more competent than you do big picture. And for this team, though, you mentioned it being crowded, the top of the board for the division, Kansas City, after missing out on the playoffs for the first time in a decade, plus 165 favorites, the Chargers plus 185, and the Broncos plus 225. So very compact at the top before you get to the Raiders there at 20-1.
What's Justin Fields win MVP?
You tell me.
You got to find it.
Pull it up. I mean, I told you that Kyler Murray was like 80-1 or something like that if you wanted to get real weird with some of these players.
I mean, speaking of that, I don't know if these are all obviously like the reports and people are grasping at straws, but holy smokes, some of the noise coming out of Minnesota about this whole Kyler Murray thing.
Oh, yeah.
That this is just, they're done with J.J. McCarthy. Speaking of, they're done with J.J. McCarthy, and they're potentially moving on. And I think I don't know, again, if this is a accurate report, because a lot of reporters just throw stuff at the wall, but the thought that Kevin O'Connell told him, like, yeah, we think this could be a 2 or 3 year deal in terms of us keeping you around for that stretch. I mean, we'll see if that actually happens.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting, I think, development to see how it progresses as the season gets going, what that looks like. Miami, meanwhile, just real quickly, conversely here, we talked about it, a rebuilding group. Tua is gone. Your top 2 receivers, and Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle gone. Devon Achane was your second leading receiver last year, and he's a running back, so I don't think that's exactly a great recipe for success. Their win total, 4.5. It is juiced to the over, but just not a good situation for them. Their 25-1 long shot price in the AFC East is the second longest of all of the long shots in terms of division. The only team longer is the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray's former team, 75-1 in the NFC West. Let's talk a little basketball here real quickly, too, because the Lakers win their first of what will be 2 games in 3 days against the Rockets yesterday, and in pretty nice form.
Yeah, Lakers have now won 6 straight games, and there's 2 ways to look at this one. We'll focus on the Lakers first. I have to give LeBron some credit because he did play, and remember, there was the rumors that he was a massive negative for this team. It worked out for him last night, and very quietly, the Doncic, James, Reeves trio, now a plus 5.9 net rating when they're on the floor together, an offensive rating of 115.7, actually a 56th percentile, not particularly great, but they're in the 88th percentile in defensive rating, so it has been getting better with those 3 out there. Doncic last night, 36 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 14 to 27 from the floor, 4 of 12 from three-point range. That can get a little bit better, but you get a big win, you win your 6th straight, and it matters because this is a team that is now pressing for maybe the 3 seed in the Western Conference. I would not get it twisted. If you actually look at the standings, there is a massive chasm between 1 and 2 and then the rest of the Western Conference. So it is maybe a win by default. Yes, I will never get the Lakers credit. But I think the other side of this is really more important. If you go back and listen to all of our conversations about the NBA and who's a contender and who's not, the common thread for me, if you listen to what I've said, is I've never thrown Houston in there. I've never really bought it. And we had it again yesterday. Their half-court offense has been abysmal, and we saw it because of Kevin Durant, and we saw it because they really just have no scheme whatsoever. Durant last night, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 7 turnovers. In the second half, Stormy, he had 2 points and 6 turnovers, so that was absolutely awful. He's 1 of 5 from the floor. He was 0 of 2 from three-point range. And if you just watch this team in clutch time, again, 5 points margin either way, 5 or fewer minutes left to go, they have no one to run their offense. And Kevin Durant, after the game, talked about that. And he was asked, like, how do you keep these guys from doubling you at the top of the key? How do you stop this from happening? And here's what he had to say.
I don't know. I think we just got to convert. Maybe I got to just get out the way, get in the corner, space the floor out for other guys. And I think just that when I get the ball against certain teams, they just going to settle out and just say, we're just going to double and play a little zone behind it and see what happens. And if we give open shots, that's cool. But maybe I just need to get out the way, be honest, set screens, be ready to catch and shoot, just space the floor out for my teammates. It's been happening throughout the season, but, I'm starting to figure out, I think I just need to get out the way and let other guys dribble the ball.
He can't run their offense. At one point yesterday, he walked the ball up so slowly, he got called for an 8-second violation. So, it's been brutal to watch him. And I don't think it's really like this is a Kevin Durant stinks thing. It's Fred VanVleet got hurt early in the offseason. Reed Shepherd is not the guy that is going to run your offense. And I think that when you look overall at this team, this is a massive weakness and why they shouldn't be taken seriously as a contender.
And against a Lakers team that defensively is always critiqued about how their defense is an issue. Listen to some more of these numbers. For the Rockets, 35 points in the second half, their fewest in any half this season. More turnovers than made field goals, 17-14. Most turnovers any half under Ime Udoka. And the Durant stuff, how you mentioned just 2 points for him in the second half, 1 of 5 from the floor. Those points only came in the last 30 seconds of the game, too. Yep. He didn't do anything in the first half to that point. And they get this rematch again, like I said, coming up on Wednesday.
Yep. I mean, maybe it'll go better for him, but I think you got to look squarely at Ime Udoka and ask him, hey, at what point are you going to, as the head coach, find something to fix this offense? Yeah. Because you can't run it through Durant. You have to find some way to get this thing going. Because if not, they're 24th in half-court offensive efficiency. That is going to kill them once they get to the postseason.
Listen, everybody, while you are in the car right now, listening to us, making your commute, remember, if you're filling up your gas tank, you could be earning cash back with the free Upside app. Download Upside today from the App Store or Google Play Store. Claim an offer at a nearby station and start earning instantly. Plus, with the promo code SPORTS, you get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on that first fill-up. It's simple. It's fast. Cash out anytime. Download Upside today. Promo code SPORTS. Offers vary by user and location. See Upside.com for details. Coming up here, VSiN's own Adam Burke joining the program. Get back into some NCAA Tournament talk next.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
VSiN's Sharp Week is here, giving you everything you need to bet each and every round of the tournament smarter. VSiN's March Mania betting guide out now. Inside the guide, you'll find profiles of every tournament team, trends broken down for each round as well, plus strategies for brackets and futures from all of our VSiN experts. You can download the guide right now for just $19.99. Or if you're a full-time VSiN Pro subscriber, you get the March Mania betting guide included, as well as every guide throughout the course of the year, along with daily best bets, real-time bet splits, AI-powered prop tools, 24/7 video, and so much more. Get your guide now at vsin.com/guide or become a subscriber at vsin.com/subscribe. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. And one of the most important people here at the network that makes all of these guides possible, does all of the content up at the website, Adam Burke, joining us in studio, vsin.com managing editor, also our mid-major maestro. So we got a lot of lower level programs to get into today. What's up, buddy?
Nothing. I've had nothing going on this week.
Oh, yeah,
been a
boring.
pretty calm week, for me at VSiN. So
you have so many articles up on the website right now. It's insane.
There's a lot going on. Not only that, I also previewed the NIT this morning.
Yes.
Which, obviously that doesn't take center stage the way the NCAA tournament does, but the NIT starts tonight with 8 games, I believe. Mm-hmm. So another opportunity for you to take advantage of the betting market.
Yeah, and a good reminder, head over to vsin.com because Adam does have that write-up from a future standpoint and some of these early round games. Might as well actually start there because we haven't done any NIT talk here on Money Moves just yet. What do you like tonight? I
mean, I can't imagine why. So there's a couple of games that I played for tonight, and I can also talk a little bit about the futures that I think are worth investing in. Okay. So, obviously the NIT, people call it the not invited tournament because you're not invited to the NCAA tournament. So, motivation can be a really big thing in the NIT. And I think it's important to point out that the first round, second round, and the quarterfinals are all on campus sites, the higher seeded of the teams in the NIT, unless there's some sort of arena conflict, something like that. So you're going to get some really interesting and weird travel spots like, St. Joseph's is playing at Colorado State, for example. They never play in elevation, so we'll see how that goes for them. But that's something you want to keep in mind with this tournament. But again, I think motivation is a really, really big deal here. And Yale is a better team than UNC Wilmington, but it was about 48 hours ago that they lost the Ivy League tournament in overtime to Penn in a game that they really had in hand. And of course, Penn hits a game tying 3, sends a game to overtime, winds up winning it. I have no idea how Yale is going to care about playing UNC Wilmington today. It's not a team they've been able to prepare for. And I actually watched a press conference with UNC Wilmington's head coach, Takayo Siddle, where he was like, yeah, I watched the Yale game live against Penn and then rewatched it in the morning. I highly doubt that Yale has prepared at all for the Seahawks based on what's transpired here for them. Plus, they're playing a third game in 4 days. I like UNC Wilmington tonight plus the 5.5. And honestly, UNC Wilmington at 100-1 is not a bad futures play in this tournament. They're a very, very good defensive team. They shoot the 3 well, and offensively, the tempo is probably going to pick up in a lot of these games too. But I think if they can win tonight's game, it kind of sets them on a little bit of a course. So, I like UNC Wilmington plus the points tonight, sprinkle the money line. And again, if you're looking for something that's a big-time long shot in the NIT, I don't think 100-1 is a bad look on the Seahawks.
Did you actually play Wyoming and Wichita State as well?
Yeah, I did. Played Wyoming and Wichita State. Okay. So another one here where you got a Wichita State team that on Sunday lost their chance to go to the NCAA tournament. I can't imagine that they're super engaged, super excited about this game here against Wyoming. So there's a couple different ways you can look at this. One of them is, obviously you can take Wyoming plus the points, which I didn't want to do. But the totals get bet up in the NIT immediately. Line gets posted. Every total gets bet up. Why? Because the pace goes up. Teams are a lot less interested in playing defense at this time of the year unless they're in the NCAA tournament. And guys are going to go out there and just take a bunch of threes. They're going to take a bunch of shots, try to get up as many shots as possible, impress for the transfer portal or, whatever else. So in this game, though, Wyoming shoots about 29% from 3 on the road. I don't think either one of these teams are going to play fast. And Wichita State, you talk about playing 3 games in 4 days, right? You lose your conference championship game. That's a lot of, emotional energy that you've spent. I don't think they're going to want to go out there and run. Okay. I think they maybe play a pretty docile game here. So Wyoming can't shoot. I don't think Wichita State's looking to go up and down the floor. So I played under 148.5 in this one. And by the way, most of the NIT totals today went up 5+ points. This one only went up about 2.5 points on the total. So I think it was probably just on principle playing the over. So I'm happy to play the under here at what I think should be the peak at 148.5.
VSiN.com managing editor Adam Burke joining us here in studio. Okay, let's get into the NCAA tournament. When the bracket came down, what was the first game you ended up firing on?
Well, it took me a little while, right? Because we were trying to put together everything for the website. We have every first round game previewed, except for, of course, the ones that we don't know yet, which we'll find out with the first 4 games tonight and tomorrow. So really it was that. It was a race to get all of this stuff up on the website, finish the important things with the guides, stuff like that. So there were some numbers I didn't really get on top of that maybe I would have if I was able to, focus all of my energy on the bracket reveal. But there are a couple of games that I did play here. I played North Dakota State against Michigan State here, plus the 16.5. North Dakota State can shoot the hell out of the basketball. That's what happens in the Summit League. Nobody really plays a whole lot of defense in that conference, so they can shoot. And the thing about a lot of these mid-major and low-major teams, if they get to the rim a lot, I don't want to back them in the NCAA tournament because now they're playing power conference teams where they're not going to get to the rim. But if they can shoot over a team like North Dakota State can because of how often they like to shoot threes, that's more of the team I like to back in this type of setting here. So, Michigan State is a team that honestly I think is overseeded as a 3. I think they got a lot of respect for what they did early on in the season. I know that the metric sites love them and all of that, but I'm not super impressed with Sparty's body of work here. So I think North Dakota State can keep this one relatively close. I don't think Michigan State's on upset alert, but 16.5 is a pretty big number here.
All right, I like it. So Michigan State, North Dakota, what else do you have here for the NCAA tournament? Part of it, I think, was Miami and Missouri?
Yeah, Miami and Missouri. I like Miami a little bit in this one. Missouri's a team that, I was really surprised when the bracket reveal was coming out and they were a 10 seed. I thought maybe they could get in as an 11, maybe get sent to Dayton. I don't know, maybe this was just because they're in the SEC, so they wound up, kind of giving them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but Miami is really, really solid now, and they've played very well in the latter portion of the season for Jai Lucas, their first-year head coach. There's some teams with first-year head coaches that really played well in the back half of the season going into the NCAA tournament. Miami is one of them, and I get it. SEC is rated higher than the ACC, but I think Miami is clearly the better team here in this game. First time in the tournament for Dennis Gates, Missouri's head coach. Obviously, first time in the tournament for Jai Lucas, but he's an up-and-coming coach, whereas I think Gates, you kind of know what you're going to get out of him now. So I do like Miami, minus the short price in that one.
Yeah, Hurricanes much better than the last time we saw them on the court in the ACC tournament. I was pretty surprised at what that performance was like. So see if they get the bounce back now that they're in the big dance. Another game that caught your eye was Georgia and St. Louis. And we are seeing the Bulldogs get bet up a little bit here from 1.5 out to 2.5 point favorites. You agree with that move?
Yeah, I do agree with that move. So, look, St. Louis is a phenomenally sound fundamental basketball team, right? I mean, Robbie Avila, that's basically what he does, right? As I wrote in our guide, he looks like a guy cut out of a VHS tape on basketball fundamentals, right? Just a very, very sound, very, very solid player. But St. Louis did not play well. Coming in the NCAA tournament, they were 3-3 over the final regular season games. They had to have a massive comeback against George Washington to even win a game in the A-10 tournament, and then, of course, lost to Dayton in that frantic ending in the semifinals. But I don't think that this St. Louis team is ready for a team of Georgia's caliber. Georgia's big, they're strong, they're fast. They just have a lot more athletic ability, I think, than St. Louis does. And I get it, St. Louis, top 5 team in the country in effective field goal percentage offense and defense, but they didn't play a very good schedule, 255th non-conference schedule, according to Bart Torvik. I just don't think they're ready for a team like Georgia. So give St. Louis a ton of credit. They do a lot of things very, very well. They're extremely well coached by Josh Schertz. I just think at some point the talent and athleticism wins out, and I think this is one of those points for Georgia.
All right, last 90 seconds. We got to ask you about your Zips. They're one of the more popular selections here, especially against Texas Tech, 7.5 or 8.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Anderson's dinged a little bit for Texas Tech, of course, slipping on that stupid floor that they had in the Big 10 or the Big 12 tournament. Obviously, JT Toppin is out. So that's a really difficult thing, right? When you talk about handicapping Texas Tech, when you talk about handicapping North Carolina, you got to keep in mind that a lot of their body of work, for Texas Tech came with JT Toppin. For North Carolina came with Caleb Wilson. So, look, over at CBB Analytics, they've been a partner of ours throughout the course of the season. You can use the promo code VSiN30, get $30 off a subscription over there. they have on-off data. So you can kind of see what teams have done here, with some of the star players that are missing. And for Texas Tech, they shot more threes and they slowed down without JT Toppin. That's a kind of game that Akron's going to be very, very comfortable playing. So I think the Zips are live. I kind of like them plus the points. Haven't played it yet. But I do think that the Zips are live in that, 12-5 matchup that we always talk about.
Seth Davis during the CBS bracket reveal, he liked Akron not only to win this game, but to make it to the Sweet 16. You think about who else is coming out of that side in Tampa with Alabama and Hofstra going head-to-head. Could Alabama be vulnerable, especially with their second leading scorer now dealing with everything that he's dealing with? Adam is going to stick around with us. We got one more segment with him, continuing our NCAA tournament talk, but with a little bit of a twist. Survivor contests are becoming more and more prevalent. We've got not only some strategy conversation, but a potential blueprint for the dance as well. Stay with us.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you're looking to put your March tournament knowledge to the test at the highest level, we got something fun for you. Splash Sports is offering $1 million in guaranteed contest prizes in their high-stakes Survivor contest. $1,000 to enter, $1 million on the line. It's like NFL Survivor, but for the big dance. Make one pick a day. You can't use the same team twice. My goodness. Outlast everyone else, and you're in for a share of $1 million. Plus, right now, new players use the promo code VSiN MM26. You get 50% deposit match up to $100, a free Quick Picks entry up to $20 on them, plus a 100% Quick Picks payout boost on an entry up to $20 as well. Entries do close in a couple days, though, March 19th. Don't wait. Head over to splashsports.com/VSiN. Code VSiN MM26. Must be 21 or older. Available in select states only.
Can I break in with some breaking news that might affect you?
No, what?
Well, you might just have insight on this because it did just come down a couple of minutes ago. Or maybe we've known this is coming. Either way, Leon Draisaitl done for the rest of the year.
Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, I knew he was hurt and unavailable, but I didn't know it was like that.
Yep.
That's a toughie for the Oilers.
Okay, I should say rest of the regular season. So we'll see
different
if he
things.
gets.
So did they say when there might be a potential update?
No, just a statement on Leon Draisaitl. He is expected to miss the remainder of the regular season with a lower body injury. That is all.
All right. And I don't think that should change the odds for today's game against the Sharks, by the way, because it was expected he was going to miss the game anyways. But a huge game for them, honestly, in terms of the Pacific Division and Western Conference.
Would you bet them no to make the playoffs now? Is that big enough for you to do that?
The point separation, what? They're second right now? What? Why are you laughing?
Because no, it's just another one of these NHL futures. I think I've got 4 of them. All of them are just in the tank. Like not even close.
Did you end up betting Edmonton to win the division, or what did you do? Okay, yeah. That is a completely reasonable bet to make, though, because you've got 4 teams that are in the mix for any of those spots. I think Edmonton still ends up in like second or third, so they should be able to get in the division, not even have to wait for the wild card. But I don't know. There's still a lot of runway left in that. So we'll get to hockey a little bit later on in the program. While we have that other voice you heard, Adam Burke joining us here on the desk, we will continue some of our basketball talk, and we talk about it, that Survivor contest that we've got going on right now with Splash Sports. You have up on VSiN.com right now a full blueprint layout of how you would approach Survivor in the tournament. And for anyone who doesn't know, Adam has had a ton of success in the NFL Circa Survivor contest here over the years, has done these blueprint articles for football and now transitioning in the college basketball area.
Yeah, virtually no success in Circa Survivor last year, like most people. So, hopefully I can kind of do a little bit better, redeem myself a little bit here on the college basketball side. So there's a lot of strategy that comes into play when you talk about a March Madness Survivor contest, including the one that we have over at Splash Sports. Again, that $1 million guarantee. So, because you have to pick a team every day of the tournament, right? When you get to the championship game, there are only going to be 2 teams in that game. So you're going to have to at least have one of them. Preferably, if you can, you'll have both of them so that you have options when you get to that point. So the thing about a contest like this is, you really have to start planning ahead right now, because you cannot take a number 1 seed in the first round, in the second round, maybe not even in the Sweet 16. Last year we saw all 4 number 1 seeds make it into the Final Four, right? It was only the second time that's ever happened, first time in a very long time, but it could happen again, right? We know that college basketball is very top heavy now in the NCAA tournament. Transfer portal has a lot to do with that. So even though you're going to be tempted to take a 31.5 point favorite or a 25.5 point favorite in the first round, something like that, just to make sure that you advance, that's a team you don't have anymore. So you have to take some more calculated risks early on in the tournament where you keep the number 1 and ideally the number 2 seeds as long as you possibly can. So that's what I wrote about in this blueprint article over at VSiN.com of trying to hold on to the 1 seeds, trying to hold on to the 2 seeds until you get to a point where you're going to really need them.
So what would you think for a first round? What would be some of your top options potentially in the first round?
So another thing you have to think about when it comes to the first round, right, is you have to think about the games that would be coming up for a team, right? And of course, you'd have to pick a game on Thursday and a game on Friday, right? Because you have to pick one every day, and then a game on Saturday and a game on Sunday. So you've got to think ahead to what those matchups may look like. And I think when you look at a team like Wisconsin, I want no part of them against Arkansas, who I think, obviously should beat Hawaii. Yep. And then if they win that game, they'd play Arizona. I'm not taking Wisconsin against Arizona. I know Wisconsin, can play a very high variance style of play. They like to shoot threes. They force teams into threes, stuff like that. But I think that against High Point, this is a spot where you can trust Wisconsin, and I don't want to use them at any other point in the tournament if they advance. So that would be my pick for Thursday, would be to take Wisconsin, because I don't trust them going forward, but I trust them in this game. And that's something you really want to look at in terms of survivor strategy here is, if you take a team, like, for example, on Friday, my pick would be Michigan State. I don't like Michigan State against the winner of Louisville or South Florida. That's going to be a really competitive game, 2 very good teams. And if Michigan State does win, whoever comes out of that 6-11 game, they would play UConn. No interest in taking them against UConn. So you start thinking about teams that you can take in the first round that you don't want to take going forward because you don't like the matchup or you just simply don't trust them. Or maybe there's only going to be one game where they're favored. And, maybe in the case of Wisconsin, this game against High Point is the only one.
And so, again, we have to do a pick every single day in the Survivor contest. So if that's the pick for Thursday and you're still alive for Friday, where might you be looking on that day?
Yeah, it'd be Michigan State for me on, I guess Michigan State does play on Thursday as well. So that's a really
another
tough
consideration,
thing, right?
Yeah.
Because, again, you're going to look at these teams, you're going to be like, okay, well, I really like this one. Oh, but they play on the same day. Yep. The only time you can take 2 picks on the same day is during the Elite Eight, at least in that Splash Sports contest. So Wisconsin's an option for Thursday. Michigan State was another consideration that I had, as well as Arkansas, if you don't like them, possibly in that matchup with Wisconsin. And then going on to Friday, well, Alabama would have been a, talking point, somebody you could have taken, but now without Aiden Holloway, they become a lot less attractive. UCLA over UCF, maybe. I just kind of like the matchup there. I think UCLA is just a better team. But my play on Friday would be Kansas over Cal Baptist.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So, when you look at Kansas, again, you look at the situation that they're in, St. John's probably beats Northern Iowa. I know a lot of people are taking UNI plus the points. I want no part of Kansas against St. John's. If they win that game, because they're on that 4 line, they'd have to play Duke. So you have to run into the number 1 seed there. So these are the kinds of considerations that you want to make is, like I said, I can take this team now because I don't want to take them again at any other point in time. So for me, if I made it through Thursday with Wisconsin, Friday would be Kansas. But again, that Michigan State game was on my mind because that is an option for Thursday too, where another team that you're not going to want to take from that point forward, at least not in my estimation.
I thought Tennessee might be an option too for Friday, only because you're going to get, you're going to get the winner of the Miami Ohio SMU game,
right?
And then after that, I don't think you want really any part of Tennessee as move forward. Realistically, you would play Virginia in the next round, so I thought Tennessee was a team too, and I think they kind of stink. Yeah. So I'd rather get them, them out of the way essentially.
Right. And Virginia's a team that I actually played to make the Elite Eight at plus 310. So again, Tennessee is another one of those teams that is a good example where I personally like Virginia a lot. I think Virginia can beat Iowa State if we wind up getting that game there in the Sweet 16. So maybe Tennessee is an option right now because I'm not going to take them again, right? And again, the point here is you have to prioritize holding on to the number 1 seeds. Yeah. Because it's very likely that at least one of them makes the championship game, if not 2 of them. And you've got to make 10 picks in this tournament over the 6 rounds. Yeah. So you've got to have the number 1 seeds available. And I don't even think you could take them in like a Sweet 16 matchup. I think even that, kind of limits you going forward.
Survivor, something that we're going to be tracking all throughout the tournament. And again, if you want to join splashsports.com/VSiN, that code once again, VSiN MM26 as well to get on board. Last thing before we let you go, in addition to all of the work that you do at the website, college basketball, all these various sports, baseball is one of your favorite sports in World Baseball Classic champ game set tonight, USA, Venezuela, another write-up you have on the website. What was the play?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's nothing going on at the website at all. It's very boring over there. There's nothing happening. Yes, please head to vsin.com. Check out all of our Sharp Week content. Become a pro subscriber if you want. You can get the March Madness guide or the March Mania guide. Yep. Can't use March Madness. They get very upset about that. The March Mania guide for $19.99 over there. But also, guess what happens in 8 days? The Major League Baseball season starts. My MLB betting guide available over at vsin.com as well. If you become a subscriber, you get the March Madness and the MLB guide. You can buy them both a la carte as well. But it's been really exciting to watch the World Baseball Classic here. It's not on the level of Major League Baseball regular season by any means. You actually see teams celebrating and being happy to be out there on the field. But Venezuela and the U.S. So I actually wrote a pre-tournament preview over there at the website, and I liked Venezuela at 9-1. So I'm in a pretty good position here having them in this game. Of course, USA is about a $3 favorite. They're a pretty, cost prohibitive favorite, I think, in this game. Two really, really good teams, great lineups. All the guys in the starting lineup are Major League Baseball players. And of course, a lot of names that you know. Nolan McLean gets to start for the U.S. tonight, though. Biggest game of his career by far. Yeah. They had Ryan Yarbrough piggyback him last time. I don't think that's a great setup. But Eduardo Rodriguez has not pitched well at the MLB level, and he gets to start here tonight for Venezuela. So I think the U.S. is favored too heavily. So I think the value play is Venezuela, but I'm just looking forward to hopefully a great game and a great atmosphere.
Venezuela plus 225 on the money line. If you do like the U.S. but don't want to pay that money line price, think they could maybe win by margin, minus 130 on the run line, total 8.5. We'll be right back.